Matt, it's only been 2.5 weeks, but it feels like 2.5 years.
Yeah. This is it's nice to be here on a Friday, but I gotta admit, the last week or so I've been jonesing to get on here and then talk some wrestling. So pretty excited for today. Even though you promised me a professional setup, and yet here we are, and it's just my ugly mug for people to look at.
Yeah, the Zoom, the camera wig out via Zoom on my end is not getting better. It's gotten worse to the point where it won't do anything else but do the NWO gimmick. Here, I'll go ahead and give people a sample. Starts out fine, and then give it a second here, and watch now. Oh no,
Yep,
there
there
it goes. I was gonna
goes.
say, watch now that we're recording, it's gonna
It,
and no.
well, this is the result of, so for people listening or watching, earlier in the week, Kris and I actually did a little show prep, which we never do. And you literally said to me, this is getting a little too professional for my liking. So I'm just going to go ahead and blame this on you.
Sure, I'll go with it. So it's not so distracting for you people who are watching. I'm just going to turn my camera off, and I'm going to hope to have that fixed one way or another by next week. But anyways, we're here. It's Kris and Matt's Wrestling Pod 2.0. We are back after a brief little hiatus while schedules got rearranged and stuff, and I started a new job, and like I said, there's been a lot happening, not just in wrestling, but in our own lives the last week, 2.5 weeks, between me starting a new job, 2 ice storms, one of which both of them knocked out our power for a period of time. The second one, I know you were out of power for days.
6 days.
6 days.
Shout out Consumers Energy for your hard work this week in getting my power restored. The line workers, fantastic job. The rest of it, kick rocks.
There you go. I've had we had a sick pet and some car issues. So yeah, it's just been a awesome couple weeks.
Yeah, this being an adult thing is bull crap.
It sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So, but so we're gonna we're gonna escape all that and talk some wrestling here for a little bit. And I guess we're gonna start. There's a big show as Matt tries to destroy everything.
Yeah, but let's just can make it a complete mess of a show right from the start.
Yeah, sure, why not? Big show this weekend. AEW Revolution is happening on Sunday, and Matt and I we kind of previewed it a little bit a few weeks back. When we did kind of a big picture AEW check-in on the pod here, and not much has changed. In fact, it's kind of gotten worse. and as we sit here on the Friday before the pay-per-view, neither Matt or I are planning on watching it. And we're gonna give, as we talk about, especially the real big matches, we're gonna kind of give our reasons why. What they have done isn't making Matt or I come out of pocket. And again, like Matt said on that episode, it's not even so much the expense, it's the time commitment too of paying for this pay-per-view.
Yeah, I was looking over the card after Dynamite, or no, it was actually yesterday when they announced Christian and Jungle Boy in that, no disqualification or last man standing, whatever stipulation it is.
No
which
holds
shows
barred,
how,
I think.
Yeah, whatever. It shows how much I care about seeing that match. If this card, aside from 2 matches, was a Dynamite, I wouldn't tune in for free to watch it. So there's no chance in hell that I'm going to pay $50 to watch this by myself, or spend the time driving to a movie theater and waste 7 hours of my evening to watch what is essentially a two match card to me.
Well, and even those two matches, like again, like there's nothing about those two matches where I'm clamoring to pay to see it.
Just to not to cut you off, I think you think I'm talking about the world title match and the Moxley Hangman match, and I'm not even considering the world title match. I'm talking the 6-man with the Elite and House of Black, and then Mox and Hangman are the only two matches on the show I have any interest in seeing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if it was they were on Dynamite, I would be, but well, let's just get into it. Let's start.
Sure.
Let's start with that trios match. I'm sure it's going to be a great match.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, right, and that's to me, that's the booking of the match itself. We got a rush together. I guess you could call it an angle, but I wouldn't even call it that. I just consider it let's throw these 6 guys together in a quick segment and then announce a match for the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that it's going to be a good match, but I can watch the Elite have a good match anytime. For a pay-per-view that I'm paying money for, I want more. I want a reason why these guys are fighting. I want to have an emotional investment in the match, and I just don't. You can't do that on 10 days of a build.
Yeah, it's so weird because when the Elite came back and especially once they ended up winning the best of 7 against Death Triangle to regain the titles, everyone was expecting that House of Black was going to be the next feud. And then they just didn't start the feud until like a week and a half ago.
Right.
They had
and from what I recall, like they didn't even really start it. It was just like House of Black showed up and everyone's like, "Oh, that's the match."
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of it is like, again, like I think all 3 guys in House of Black are supremely talented, but the spooky stuff it's just spooky to be spooky. There's no substance behind it.
Right.
In my opinion.
Go ahead. I don't want to cut you
off. It's like you said. So, we turn the lights on and off a couple times and now we got a pay-per-view match.
All right. It's look, I not to do the fantasy booking stuff, but the thing that happened on Dynamite this week where the Elite are coming out and they're doing their entrance, lights go out and they get attacked. If you do that 3 weeks ago, it makes so much more of a difference in the feud. Say when the Elite was coming out to face Top Flight and AR Fox, if they did it there and this match is canceled because of House of Black, blah, blah, blah. Then you've got a couple weeks to build a little bit of a feud and get people interested. To just show up, say, hey, we're going to be the ones that face you for the titles. Haven't really beat anybody for that opportunity. Just, I don't know. Just it's symptomatic of a bigger booking issue in the company, which we've talked about a few times now.
Yeah. So I guess let's go ahead, unless you got anything else to talk about with that match. Let's just go ahead and roll right into to Moxley and Hangman. Texas Death Match. Great, sure. Again, we've seen it. This is the 4th time they've done the match now in like 6 months. And what's the difference in this Texas Death Match that going to be from any other Jon Moxley match?
Right. The stipulation doesn't make the match. I'm just looking for a good old fashioned brawl. I think both these guys have been kind of on a downward trend the last few months. But I when I texted you the other night, I said I could watch these guys feud for another 6 months if they did it right. But I think you're right. It's going to be Moxley's going to bleed. They're going to be brawling. But I hope they really lean into like Hangman trying to find that next level and get that fire of like, I need to go after who is arguably the real ace of AEW and reestablish Hangman as, look, I'm still a world title contender. I should still be considered near the top of this company, and I'm going to have to prove it violently against, our top guy.
Yeah, I really hope Hangman ends up winning the match because I think he needs it more.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't think I've ever been more hot and cold on a wrestler in my life over the years than Jon Moxley / Dean Ambrose. Like, it's so weird. I can't explain it for to myself, let alone to anybody else out there. Like, I loved him in the Shield, and then during his singles run, like, you and I would go to shows until and like he'd get these crazy reactions at these WWE shows, and you and I would kind of look at each other like, well, what? And then, he came over to AEW and, he was fine or whatever. And then, like, from the fallout of the exploding barbed wire match against Kenny, when him and Eddie started teaming up, through, I'd say probably through, the beginning of this year, in the midst of this Hangman feud, I was in on Jon Moxley. Like, I voted for him as my wrestler of the year last year, and I just thought he was great. And all of a sudden, I'm back to where I'm just like, I can take him or leave him. Like, I really think he needs to go on that long talked about vacation. Like,
yeah,
I need like a good, and not just the 2 weeks he was off after they did the concussion angle in the rematch with Hangman. I need a good like 6 weeks without Jon Moxley, and I don't know. I don't know if they can get away with it. I think they need him. Or at least they think they need him to be there every week. But I could definitely do with a vacation of my own from Jon Moxley on my television screen.
Yeah, Moxley. There's about 2 or 3 acts in the company that I think are due for a little bit of an extended vacation, and he's definitely one of them, if only for the fact to give somebody else the chance to step up and kind of hold that role that he does of being the guy that every week or every 2 weeks can be counted on to deliver a money promo, a really good TV match, and push an angle without having to have that other person in front of him all the time.
Right.
And I think we'll talk about him in a little bit. I think Jericho's kind of the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like these guys need, like, they're clearly stars. People aren't going to forget about them. And if they go away for a little bit, they're going to get great reactions when they come back. Step aside for a little bit and let's try to get some more people that are capable of doing those things, especially since it looks like not a big chunk, but a chunk of the roster is going to be more focused on Ring of Honor now going forward.
Right. Are we all set on that one then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll be a good match, and like I said, I hope it does extend a little longer, and maybe Hangman proves that he's got that violent edge, and he puts Moxley out for a few weeks.
Yeah. The more I think about it, Hangman has to win. He has to.
I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to lose, and that's going to be the start of his going back to the Elite.
Maybe. I don't know if that's actually going to end up happening, but we'll see. All right. Well, then I guess let's the third of the big matches. I guess we got to talk about the world title match. I guess apparently this feud got really good the last 2 weeks. I didn't see the promo last week because the power went out, and it even normally, like, if the power is out, like, my DVR will still record. Well, no, like the DVR cut off and everything. So I didn't see last week's promo, and to be honest, I shut Dynamite off after the Tag Team Battle Royal this week because I was fed up.
Right.
So, and I guess Brian cut a pretty good he got to say the F word on TV. So everyone was fired up about that. So I don't
I didn't think it was. It was good to a point, and then it was him yelling. And you know how I feel. Like, I understand you got to get fired up and show that emotion, but when you just yell all the like throughout the majority of your big points of your promo, it loses me. And then he dropped an F-bomb, and it always goes back to, Punk mocking their, oh, look, everybody, I'm so cool because I can swear. Like, and even MJF's promo the week before where, he's talking about how apparently his real life fiance left him because he's not lovable. Why is that your promo? Because that's just going to give you sympathy, I think. And I know he's not a likable guy, but I think everyone can identify with that feeling of feeling unloved.
Right.
So, like, if anything, it made him sympathetic. And then when Brian insulted him again about it this week, I'm like, you're not doing anything to make me hate MJF anymore, which I think was the point, but
yeah.
And they've done either way.
They've done the rug pull out thing with MJF where like he does, he says some things where, the crowd starts, thinking, trying almost like turning him, and then, he does the gotcha thing, and he's done that like a few times now, and it's like, okay, we get it. Like, it's
the same shtick with him over and over again. Yeah. Making people run through a gauntlet to get to face him. Like, if the next feud goes through that, I'm done. Like, it'll be an immediate. I don't care how good his promos are. I'm not gonna watch another 6 weeks of him throwing a gauntlet in front of somebody to get to him. It's just it's overdone.
Yeah, for sure. And then we get to the biggest crux of the matter of why I'm not interested in this match. I don't want to sit through a 60-minute match.
Right. Especially when if it's one fall to a finish, I can get sold on it. But an Iron Man match, I've got no interest. And nothing about it is going to make me happy. If Brian wins, because by all rights he probably should in this scenario, I don't think it's the right move, because why would you put the belt on Max just to take it off of him 3 months later? And if Max wins, he's going to either have to cheat, or it's going to be something completely insane where it's like he could never, like, he shouldn't be beating Bryan Danielson in this sort of match. So I think they booked themselves in a lose-lose situation here.
Yeah, the Bryan is going to win has that's gained some steam online with the fan base the last couple weeks. I think he's got a better shot at winning than like Sammy did a couple weeks ago, for sure. Yeah. But I'm right there with you. Like, okay, so you have him beat Max. Well, so what was all this hubbub with Max for? This whole I'm going to win the title and hold it, until the bidding war of 2024, blah, blah. And, like, look, I get it. Not every title reign needs to be a year long or whatever. Like, I'm totally down with that. But when he's a heel, so he's not supposed to he's not supposed to fulfill his promises, in the, wrestling psychology type thing. But I just feel like you went that, you brought it up, like you almost have to go with it, barring some unforeseen circumstance. Like, you have to go that route now.
Yeah, well, and especially considering the tournament to name the champion after Punk left, Bryan made it to the final. If you were going to put the belt on Bryan at any point, wouldn't it have made more sense to put it on him there and let him hold it for a few months and then have Max beat him? I just it's symptomatic of, I don't think Tony Khan is really putting a lot of thought into his booking weeks down the road. It feels very fly by the seat of his pants.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening. But I'm not. Yeah. Either way, I don't, like you said, I don't see a satisfying conclusion either way here. So we'll see where they go. We'll just kind of quickly hit the rest of the matches.
Sounds good.
You brought up Jungle Boy and Christian Cage earlier. This match got basically set up last week, and I'm assuming that Christian finally got cleared or whatever from his. This is the match they wanted to do last year. I can't. Was that All Out? Yeah, that was All Out, I think. But Christian, was hurt or whatever, and they had to wait for him to come back. And I don't know. At this point, it's like, why bother?
That could be the name of a Christian Cage DVD. Yeah. We wanted to do this match, but Christian was hurt.
I mean, at this point, it's kind of got like, why bother? Like, why go back to this? It's not. It's to me, it wasn't something that I had to see the conclusion to. So. And again, so this is no holds barred. So now you got this, and you got the Texas Death Match, which are like, I know they're not the same, but they're pretty much the same. So yeah,
fingers crossed that Jungle Boy wins. Both these guys can move on, and we don't have to drag this out any longer.
Yeah.
And speaking of dragging things out too long, Jericho and Ricky Starks, same thing. Let's hope Ricky Starks wins and it just goes away. And Jericho goes on tour with his band for a few weeks, and maybe isn't around as much. I think that'd be the best case scenario. But
Machine Shop in Flint is sold out, baby.
Woo! Never mind. I'm not gonna make that joke. It's been a while since I've been to the Machine Shop, so maybe it's not as crummy as it used to be.
Yeah, well, but
great venue for music though, but
yeah,
not the safest area.
Right. Well, yeah. But yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, Ricky has to win. But knowing Jericho, I mean, all of the Jericho Appreciation Society are banned from ringside, but that just, I mean, they could have someone else come down and, who's not technically a member yet. And
it'd be I'd be shocked if Action Andretti or whatever his name is came out and cost Ricky Starks. I would never see that coming.
Exactly. So you always got to think about that possibility. So, yeah. Yeah. So there's that. What else we got here? We got the women's
Wardlow. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say we got the women's title triple threat. Please, dear God, do not put the title on Saraya.
Jamie Hayter needs to win this match. That's it.
Yep.
Bottom line. Don't care about either of the other women in the match. Just get through this and hopefully find your next feud for Jamie.
Yeah.
Because this has been dead in the water since Saraya showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what went wrong there. How I know that they thought they were bringing in a real big star for their women's division, and on paper, I see it, but it just hasn't panned out that way. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't want to knock her work, especially considering she missed so much time.
Yeah, no, totally.
But AEW is a company where if you can't put on, the banger match, or you don't put on banger matches, people don't have a lot of interest in you. And I haven't seen anything from her in the ring that's made me go, she deserves all this TV time when you have other women on the roster who have been there longer, are better in the ring right now, and aren't getting that opportunity. Because it's not like Saraya is this incredible promo or this incredible character where you're like, oh, she's got this charisma that I'm attracted to. Her gimmick is basically, I was in WWE for a long time, and then I got hurt and couldn't wrestle, and here I am now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I don't want to necessarily knock her because of what all she's gone through, but she's not, maybe this is her, she's had, they had the tag match, and she wrestled on Dynamite a couple weeks ago, so maybe we are getting to a point, but it doesn't seem like she's wrestling enough to knock the rust off.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, I get it. You with her injuries, in the past. You don't want to just, have her on the Bryan schedule of wrestling, 20 minutes every week. But at the same time, like, yeah, it's a difficult situation. So, but yeah, I agree. Jamie's got to retain here. And I don't think we're moving on. Like, I think we're still building to some sort of, whether it's blood and guts or some sort of big multi-person originals versus the front line versus the main event mafia of the women's division. So, but yeah, Jamie's got to keep the belt here.
And then we got Samoa Joe and Wardlow.
Yeah.
Another match that, like, I was interested in 3 months ago, but Samoa Joe is sometimes he's on TV he'll be on TV for 2-3 weeks straight, and then he's gone for 3 weeks. Wardlow's been in and out. I'm not excited about it, and especially considering, we saw on Dynamite Wednesday, Powerhouse Hobbs is going to get the next shot. So, big meaty men slapping meat. The winner of that match gets to face another big meaty man. Like, okay, I'm going to get the same match 2 weeks here.
Started pointing at my shirt, and then I realized my camera's not on.
See, can't do anything right around here. It's like Vince 18 months ago. Yeah, it could be a good match. Hopefully, Samoa Joe can bring something out of Wardlow that reminds people, like, man, this guy is really good. It'd be really nice if they did something with him, but he's been so stop and start. I'm not excited about it yet.
Yeah, I don't know why it's so hard for anybody in wrestling, it seems like, to just, like, when you've got someone like that, an up-and-comer like Wardlow, why it's so hard to keep them in momentum going once you finally, crown them or whatever. Like, it's like it happens it happens on AEW, it happens on WWE, it happened, like, maybe it goes
happens
back
a lot in AEW, though. I mean, we're going to talk about the tag titles in a minute, and it's the same thing. They book to a point, and then you get to the, okay, and then what? And they've got nothing, and they just throw shit against the wall and hope it sticks. And that's how you kill a babyface run. If you don't give people consistent reasons to like the guy or cheer for him and see him overcome the odds, they're gonna lose faith in it. And Wardlow is a prime example of that.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about those tag titles now. So I'm not a guy. I try. It's hard sometimes, but I try whether it's wrestling or Star Wars or Marvel movies. I try not to be the person who, especially when I'm as invested as I am with those things, and have, whether it's you or my brother or whoever, I'm texting ideas back and forth with them and stuff like that. I try not to be the type of person where if they don't do the thing that I think they should do, where I'm like, they didn't do my idea, so therefore it sucks. I try not to be that way.
Is that a shot at me?
No, not at all.
Because I'm that guy.
Oh yeah, I know. No, it's just, I know how some people are, where it's just, well, they didn't do this exactly the same way, so therefore it's dumb, even if it's not. But I digress. I was convinced, like everyone else was convinced, that when the Guns won the tag team titles, that somewhere along the way, FTR was on their way back and going to get a shot at the titles at the pay-per-view. And especially, they announced this Fatal 4-Way with, 2 Battle Royals to determine who was going to be in it. And it's like, okay, well, they won't be in the first Battle Royal, but they'll be the Joker in the Casino Battle Royal. It's got to be, right? And then it wasn't. And now we're in a place, and like I said, after this, I love Danhausen. Love that Danhausen. So this is nothing against him, but or Orange Cassidy. But like seriously, as soon as that battle royal ended on Wednesday, I shut it off. I was like, I don't need to watch the rest of the show because I don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Help me understand, Matt.
They're in there for Danhausen to eat the pin to one of the Guns, and that's it. They needed someone to lose. The Guns are winning this match. They're not gonna have the Acclaimed lose this match. You're not putting the belts on Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal because you just took them off of a babyface team. If you're gonna take it off the Acclaimed and give it to Jarrett or if you're gonna put the belts on Jarrett and Lethal, why wouldn't you have them beat the Acclaimed? So they're not winning. Orange Cassidy and Danhausen definitely aren't winning. And that leaves me, well, then who's taking the loss in this match? And to me, Danhausen getting pinned by one of the Guns, especially considering he started the Ass Boys thing and all that, it makes the most sense out of everything. And then because the Acclaim can still say, well, you never beat us clean. We want our rematch, yada, yada, yada. The Guns get to hold the belt for a while. They get the heat that they want, brother. And that's going to lead to the next 3-4 weeks of the Guns and the Acclaimed still bickering back and forth is how I see it.
Yeah.
Because if you were going to have the Acclaimed win, why wouldn't you just have them get their win back in a traditional tag match? Right. Why put the other two teams in it?
Exactly. Luckily I haven't seen anyone defend this online because I think my head would have exploded. I see where someone could say, well, FTR aside, these 4 teams kind of make sense because they are kind of interwoven. Obviously the Guns beat the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed just finished a feud with Jarrett and Lethal. Jarrett and Lethal have also been feuding with Danhausen and the Best Friends. And like you said, Danhausen, gave the Guns the Ass Boys moniker and they hate that and whatnot. So like you can try and sell me it, but it's like, and now, and Dax is like, saying, and when it comes to FTR, like it's great because this is what wrestling should be, where you can't tell the difference with what's real and what's not. But at the same time, it's like, if he's talking about how they haven't talked to AEW and they're really thinking about maybe just going on an indie run here in a couple months when their contract runs. If this just ends up with them showing up, like if something happens, let's say Danhausen and Orange Cassidy get taken out before the match. If this just ends up with FTR showing up at the pay-per-view anyway, like just have them win the goddamn battle royal.
Right. God, the stuff with FTR is so weird. I'm more and more convinced that this is all a work shoot again, and this is really leading to FTR and Punk coming. I know it's crazy, and I'm probably wrong, but watching the way this is playing out and Punk's reemergence on social media miraculously 6 months after he got hurt and all that, it just feels like they're trying to work everybody with this stuff. And it's making me not care. I know you don't want to talk about backstage stuff, but like I listened to Dax's podcast this week, and the whole time I'm just sitting here like, what is this guy doing? Like, this doesn't help anything. You're just shitting on the company's champion, who I know is a heel and all that, but like Punk shit on a bunch of people and he got ostracized from the company.
Right.
He might have punched somebody too. But like the stretching it into real life is starting to get to be too much for me, to a point where like I don't want to get invested because I don't know if he's going to be going away in a few weeks, if they are going back to WWE or doing this indie run.
I remember during our first iteration of this podcast, very early on in the lead up to WrestleMania, we had a big. Wasn't really an argument. I just kind of let you cook, but it was in the build up to the Triple H Batista match, and there was a promo where Triple H said something to the effect of this isn't Hunter talking, this is Paul talking, blah blah blah, and you were talking about how much you hated that. And I don't hate that as much. This is the opposite of is what I hate is when they try and bring the I'm sure I've barely paid attention to it, so I'm sure you haven't really paid attention to it. But they're doing this thing on Busted Open with Bully and Tommy Dreamer that's kind of coinciding with stuff happening on Impact, and during the build up to Ric Flair's last match, like a couple of those Jarrett pods were just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, like we're not stupid. Like,
right. Well, some people are, because apparently someone literally had to ask Tony Khan about Eddie Kingston quitting AEW on the media call yesterday. So a lot of people fall for that stuff too. And if you pay attention to like Reddit, as soon as Dax's podcast comes up, it's just thread after thread of he said this week. So like it's hooking some people, but for me, it just like I don't need it. I need to see FTR in a ring doing what they do best, and that's tell stories through a wrestling match. I don't need to hear this guy crapping on all over everything that he didn't like that's happened in his career, every week.
Yeah, no, I agree. What
else are we missing from the Revolution card? I think, did we hit it all? Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything else.
Everything important, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Fair enough.
All right. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm definitely interested in the aftermath. I'm not so much interested in taking the time to watch it, but
sure. Something I'm interested in, and you can stop me if you're not ready to move on. But
no, I'm good.
Mr. Anti WWE, I am very excited for SmackDown.
Yeah, I am too. Oh, man. So if there's anyone out there who did listen to the initial version of this podcast and then like haven't kept tabs on me especially and my like, you're gonna just think I'm in the same spot I was when we were doing that initial podcast. Because like I was during the initial run, like I was still hardcore WWE tribalist and stuff like that, and it took a lot for me to give AEW their props. And like in the year since then, like Matt can attest, there was especially like last summer, like I was big AEW guy, and now we're doing the podcast again, and it's all reverting back.
Sure.
But hey, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, no, tonight's SmackDown looks to be should be a doozy.
Yeah.
With the first, at first it was they announced that Roman was going to be at SmackDown, and then he was going to address the situation with the Usos personally this week. Well, then on Monday it was revealed that Cody's going to be there, so we're going to have our first official face-to-face between WrestleMania opponents here. Everything to this point has been through Paul Heyman talking to Cody. So I'm excited to see what this first confrontation between the two of them looks like and how it goes down. And then right before we press record, you said that they announced a match for tonight as well.
Yeah, Sami Zayn is going to be taking on Solo Sikoa. I mean, let's go.
Yeah.
Like clearly this is going to be the next, or this is going to be a big part of whatever they're doing with the Sami, Kevin, Usos thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited for that match. I'm interested to see if this is the next big kind of chapter moment of the bloodline storyline. It feels like tonight's going to be a really big night for multiple storylines that are heading into Mania.
Yeah, I agree. And then Liv and Rhea are wrestling tonight, and that should be pretty good too. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to SmackDown tonight for sure. And so I guess we could real quick, we kind of check in. We've since we last talked, we've had a couple more matches announced for WrestleMania. With Asuka won the Chamber, so we got Asuka and Bianca for the Raw Women's title. Both women's title matches should be just awesome at WrestleMania this year. We've got new women's tag team champions as of this week.
Yeah. Yep.
And it kind of looks like we're heading for a women's trios match at WrestleMania with Damage Control versus Becky, Lita, and Trish. Which, sure, I mean, I'm for it. And then we got Brock and Omos.
I mean, you talk about a swing and a miss. I've hammered on the guy for years. Like, I just don't care what Brock does anymore.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, this might be the top of the heap of bad ideas for that guy. I don't know. I don't know how this got out of the meeting room, but I saw someone say Omos has wrestled 3 television matches since like August.
Yeah, so like, this is the thing that is giving people claiming Vince is back.
Yeah, that's stupid too.
I think it is too. I mean, I don't know. I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the blessing is it's going to be short. It's going to be a nice little pee break on whatever night of WrestleMania it happens on, because it's going to be less than 5 minutes. And you're not going to miss anything. So
it's weird too to hear that Brock apparently turned down a bunch of different matches and agreed to this one. You know, maybe they'll find some magic like they did with Brock and Goldberg a few years ago, where they were like, "Look, we're just going to give you 8 minutes, beat the hell out of each other, and hit the bricks."
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand this match at all.
Yeah, I don't either. Especially when you could have just prolonged the last match with Bobby until WrestleMania and done that instead. But it looks like now we're getting Bobby and Bray. Which
cool.
Sure.
Look. Bray Wyatt is a fast forward for me. I could not care less about anything involving Bray Wyatt anymore. It's dumb. The segments are way too long. They never go anywhere. He's playing the same character. It feels like he's played, back when he was the Fiend the first time. And I just, whatever.
Yeah.
This will be another, like, I joked about not watching WrestleMania. This will definitely be like, when that comes on, I'm not watching that. I'll find something else to do.
Yeah.
Good for you, Paul. I'm glad you're finding spots for some of these guys, but that ain't it for me.
Right. Yeah, it's not, neither of those things are things I'm particularly excited for, but there's other there's plenty other stuff heading towards WrestleMania where I am excited for it. And unlike Revolution, I ain't got to pay $50 for it. So
no, that too. I mean, that too. That's a big selling point for a lot of people.
Yeah. So I think how are we feeling right now currently on the road to WrestleMania?
I mean, look, I think it's pretty clear that they've settled in. It's going to be KO and Sammy versus the Usos. It's not what I would like to see, but I get it. I feel like the world title match, that tag title match, and like you said, the 2 women's matches are going to be enough to carry the main event feel of WrestleMania. I just hope that Edge and Balor is able to be something more than something different than what we've seen throughout this feud, because they've already done this match a couple times.
Right.
I'd really like to see Gunther and Sheamus maybe go at it for the IC title.
I think they're going to do a triple threat.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I think they're going to do Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew.
Yeah, which could be really good too. But I'm just saying that their match at Clash of the Castle was so good. Like, why not do it on the biggest stage in wrestling?
Yeah.
But it's not going to hurt to have Drew in there either.
Have another big beefy guy
Well, and who
beating the
can
hell out of
work and
yeah.
yeah. So it's not going to be the end of the world. Um, uh, I know some people are excited for Ray and Dominic. I'm just not caught up to it. It's just not clicking for me.
I hope they make it a hair versus mask match.
Yeah, that the traditional lucha move. I wouldn't hate that.
But then again, Ray's not losing his mask, and I'd really hate to see Dominic have to get rid of that mullet because it's a work of art.
I mean, I traditionally losing the mask is kind of like um, a really big deal. If Ray is thinking about hanging him up,
right?
Demasking at WrestleMania to your son. I mean, I don't think Rey Mysterio is going to have a better chance to walk away on a big stage. So, and I mean,
they let Eric Bischoff back in control.
Right. Well, and you want to make Dominic even more hated. He's the guy that unmasked his dad at WrestleMania. He could talk about that forever. Yeah. So it's not the worst idea, but as a match in general, I'm not big on it.
Yeah, that's definitely a story match.
Yeah,
but you need a couple of those too. I think look, you can say what you want about the person or whatever, but I from what he's shown already in his short career, I think Seth and Logan Paul are gonna go nuts.
Yeah, they could.
So I think that's gonna be good. I'm interested to see how Theory and Cena shakes out, if that's in fact what they end up doing. Cena's going to be on Raw on Monday, presumably to start setting that up. So yeah, I think there's like you said, there's a couple clunkers along the way, but overall I'm there's more to like than not so far, at least on paper, heading into WrestleMania this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Real quick, I don't know if you saw the report, but the Mania was if Dwayne would have decided he actually cared about wrestling as much as he says he does, and came in for Mania, it was going to be him and Roman for one of the titles, and Seth and Cody for the other.
Yeah.
If you're Seth, man, that's got to be a kick in the balls. Like, you were going to get a world title match at Mania because he's never had the one-on-one big Mania main event match. And now he's got to work with a celebrity who, I think he's working, but he's also the stuff he's saying about Logan in the press is pretty, it's pretty stiff and it feels pretty real. I wonder if there's part of him that's like, I really don't want to be in this match, but it's great exposure for Seth, so I'm gonna make the best of it.
Mm-hmm.
But for that guy to be on the run that he's been on, and again not get that main event match just because Tequila Boy couldn't get in shape in time because he had to make his B League football dreams come true.
When's WrestleMania?
April 1st and 2nd.
Oh, you mean the same time it is sorry. I there's no way I'm going to get in shape.
Yeah, it's the damnedest thing. It just came out of nowhere.
It just so happens I'm launching the XFL like a month before. Damn.
Right. Whatever.
But yeah. There's something else I was going to say, but I don't remember. I remember what it was. There's a story I want to tell though. That's really funny. And it doesn't. It's gonna lose some of the meaning because you can't see my background. But if my camera was on, you were able to see. You'd see that the shelf where all my Hasbros are, it's kind of in a state of disarray. They're all kind of knocked over and stuff. And the reason that is, so maybe a week, 10 days ago, my wife is on Facebook Marketplace, just kind of scrolling, looking, and someone was selling some Hasbro figures. And so I was looking at them, and they were way too expensive, obviously, and they were, they weren't even like in the box. It's just Hasbro's in general are just insanely priced, which sucks because I want to. But they were all ones that I don't even think I had. They were like some of the later ones. So it was like Yokozuna, and some of the.
I know the exact ad that you're talking about. I've looked at it too.
Okay. So Kingston comes over, and Mr. Knows he's got to see what we're looking at. So he looks at my wife's phone, and he goes. He puts up a finger, when he's got an idea or something, he puts up the finger like, wait. And so he comes running and he opens the door to my room here, and he grabs like a handful of the figures and he comes running out. Like, I'm like, I am so proud of you, son.
That moment of like realization of like, oh, the wrestling toys that Dad likes, I can use those.
Yeah. He's he just the fact that like he put two and two together, like that he knew that those were the same ones and stuff like that. Like I was like, you are so smart, kid.
Yeah.
So
not too long, we'll have him at some live shows, hopefully. Yeah. And if you don't mind, I don't want to cut you off.
No, that was it. That was my proud parenting moment of the week.
So not to toot my own horn or push my own stuff on my personal life. But speaking of children loving wrestling, I had the opportunity. If you tuned into Raw this week, you saw the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes handed his weight belt to a little girl who was at the front row, and she was so excited that she started crying, and the clip was all over the internet. I was fortunate enough in my day job to make contact with that family, and I actually got to interview the girl. Her name's Ava. She's a darling. She was so sweet. But to be able to talk to that family, and there was a lot of stuff that I couldn't even fit into the article because it had gotten a little longer than I had hoped. MLive.com.
Yeah, I was going to say I will post a link in the description, both on YouTube and on the podcast feed. I'll post a link to the article in there in both places.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But getting the chance to talk to them and just what it meant to have that guy, I said the story. He's the hottest star in wrestling right now. And he didn't just take a second to make her night. He gave her something that she's going to remember, for the rest of her life, presumably. And she even said it was like a dream come true. And she called it the best memory ever. She's, 7 years old. That made me better appreciate what pro wrestling is supposed to be. Guys like us who've been watching it so long, me especially, get really slanted or jaded about pro wrestling. But that kind of recentered me in terms of like, it's not just about, is it a 5-star match? Are they telling a great story? It's more about putting smiles on people's faces. And to have the chance to see that on TV on Monday, and then talk to the family one-on-one and just hear how great it was for them to get all this support from people of, we're so happy for you. What a moment for your family. It warmed my heart, and it was a really cool experience to be able to share their story with people. And look, I've hated Cody Rhodes, the wrestler, for 15 years now. Cody Rhodes, the man, he is the man. Like that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So, props to him. And, you won't be hearing me, say too much bad stuff about him, for a long time.
Till he wins the title.
No, because look, man, that's just it though. Like him winning the title is going to put smiles on even more children's faces. And like, that's
stuff like that is exactly why you put the title on him. Exactly.
Well, and it's stuff like that when I was a kid that made me into the fan that I am now. Like watching Hogan overcome the odds, even though he's is who he is outside of the ring, like 8-year-old Matt, 7-year-old Matt couldn't get enough of Hogan and the three moves and leg drop and it's over. Like, so if that means there's going to be another generation of fans that get a passion for this, Cody, let's hope he wins the belt at Mania.
Well said.
Thanks.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, I will post like I said, I'll post a link to that article in the episode description, both on YouTube and on the podcast platforms. So, yeah, I will. I think that's it then this week.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Went a little
else.
long, but we had a lot of catching up to do. So yeah. So yeah, you can find the video at musicandmoonsalts.com. Check out. So last week, because we didn't have an episode of this show, and I want to keep releasing weekly content of some sort, even if there is a week that we don't have this show. I decided to release early. I had recorded one of my retro album reviews with Phil Lindsay of Grapsity, and the later this month is the 20th anniversary of Linkin Park's Meteora album, which exactly. Like,
you said that, and like I went right back to listening to that album on my friend's couch. Like, you said it was like, oh my God, sitting on Obi's couch listening to that album like 20 years ago.
My connection, real quick. So Gerald had that album, and he brought it over. We had some sort of scrapbook project for English class or whatever, our senior year of high school, and so we were working on it at my house because my mom was deep into the scrapbooking thing, so she had all the stuff.
Yeah, I've been to your house a few times.
Yeah, exactly. And so he would come over to work on ours together, and he had that CD, and we played it the entire time when we were working on those. And like I said, I did what any broke teenager in high school did. I burned myself a copy of it, and I listened to that thing like crazy. That was such a I wouldn't say I'm like an uber Linkin Park fan, but that album was like you said, I anytime I hear a song from that album, I'm immediately taken back to that time period and the red truck and just all that kind of stuff. So it was a real good conversation. Phil's a real cool dude, and it was fun to talk to him about that. So go ahead and check that out. So, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Follow me on Twitter at Kris. Follow the show account at KMWrestlingPod. I think that's all the plugs. So until next time, this is the way.